Scott Schiller, Executive Director of Thoroughbred Spirits Group.
So, Scott, I want to know how this story started for you. So, like, just as kind of like simple as possible, just start with telling me when you started Thoroughbred.
Yeah, so the story of Thoroughbred has a couple of twists and turns. It happened quite naturally. It wasn't something planned. And it's a neat overlay of finding one's self-purpose with a professional purpose. I'm a fifth generation distiller. I learned from my grandfather when I was a very young boy. He learned from his father, and his father, my great grandfather, learned from his father. And that was in Italy, outside of Naples, in a town called Acerra. And they were fruit farmers. And that fruit farming led to eventually finding other ways, like many farmers do today, to preserve their crops. And that started with them making liqueurs, most likely, limoncellos, digestivos, those type of things. My great-great-grandfather married very well into a family that were tailors to the King's Court of Naples. As a marketer and entrepreneur, I can embellish this as much as you want, but the short of it is around 1855, 1856, they became distillers to the King's Court.
What I want to know about is, I know for you personally, your grandfather was a really big inspiration. Tell me about him.
Sure. Grandpa, Joseph Deanna. There's a large photo of him off behind this camera. He's always on my mind. My grandpa was my best friend. He had this amazing wisdom about life and the ability to connect with others. While he was a distiller, his favorite thing was to bartend. So he literally bartended to he's 84 years old. And I know that sometimes conjures up the image of a guy sitting on a stool, harking at people to do jobs or, give somebody a free beer. But my grandpa was working it. Shaking, making cocktails. He was known as the original mixologist in Chicago. And it kept him alive. And it was that spirit of sharing his love for what he made with the people who enjoyed it. And that's infectious. And I think that's something that certainly relates to a lot of makers today, regardless of what it is, but certainly with spirit producers.
What does that legacy mean to you, like today? How do you feel like the work that you're doing at Thoroughbred honors that great legacy of distilling and business from your family, but specifically your grandfather?
Gosh, no one's ever asked it that way, and it's really purposeful. So without trying to get emotional about it, my grandfather was an artist in so many ways, creative beyond belief, and his ability to connect with others was second to none. Just amazing human being. The problem was, as wickedly talented as he was, he didn't understand the business side of things. We'd refer to that in our industry as the commercial. And I knew from a very young age, while my grandfather was a genius at the art making, was left much to be desired on the business side. And he had a phrase that has been a guiding principle to me, which is think beyond the still. And that was his way of explaining that, as important as is what it was that he made, it was rarely successful beyond a small environment. And that's because it's the commercial side of the business. And his way was, the second part of that expression of think beyond the still was, rarely is the best tasting the best seller. And gosh, that was true in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and certainly true today, where, these brands that have amazing distribution power or influence or larger portfolios or greater marketing prowess or dollars or whatever it may be, they know how to push forward. And it is what it is. And while I appreciate greatly art, and I appreciate great art in terms of the liquid sense, it's never been drawn to me. And I realized that in order to help my grandfather, I needed to, I was just coming to really strong realization. It wasn't going to work. And so thinking and focusing on business is how I could help him.
So do you feel that, you've worked with so many brands and you've helped so many distillers to grow their businesses, and I know one of the things that you specialize in is turnaround jobs as well.
Yeah.
Do you feel that it's that experience that's just part of your core that helps fuel the passion to keep doing the work that you do?
Without question. There's a little bit of my grandfather in philosophy in every client we have. And every maker, right? Unless they're truly just business focused and don't care, and those aren't the type of things we work on. But it takes both. It takes art and commercial. And unfortunately, commercial has to lead a little bit. And that's a struggle for many artists. It's also a struggle for commercial people who don't appreciate things that are made or how they're made or the importance of why they're made the way they are. But it's helping that dream come through and understanding both mentalities that allows me to identify and I think understand deeper than perhaps most. I hate being called a consultant because many consultants are terrible and end up in that role because they had no other options. That's never been it. I'm an entrepreneur. I've launched 2 distilleries from scratch. First one didn't work out, second one did. I love the entrepreneurial challenge. I love taking calculated risks, but I have grave appreciation and I know what it means beyond the bottle. I know the personal side of it. I know the professional side of it. And so again, it's really purposeful. And when you have the posture to be truly helpful, not ego driven, but helpful, that's what resonates with me. And those words of being a crucial contributor to an individual and organization, that's what resonates really loudly in this.
You know, Scott, what I found is that the best consultants are those that really understand their client's journey intimately because they've walked that path, right? Sure. And part of your role is to tell them what's around the corner before they get around the corner. And you know what's around the corner because you've been around that corner already. Tell me, what does one of your typical clients look like? And you don't have to give me a specific name or anything, just someone, give me a typical like success. When people come to you and they need Thoroughbred to help them, what are some of the challenges that they're facing?
Sure. When people come to Thoroughbred, it's usually for 2 reasons. It's either a startup, a group of entrepreneurs, husband and wife, solo entrepreneur that's looking to enter into the spirits game. They normally have some idea and they realize that they don't know everything, that it's more complex than a simple read or a 5-day course, or attending just a trade show or podcast. And then the other part, and it's about 50-50, is existing companies that are up and running, realize they have some challenges or headwinds or opportunities that they're just not certain how to unlock. They've tried various things, obviously, as they're entrepreneurs, but they really need help unlocking it. They can't see the full picture and they need help with the strategy and execution. So on the first part, for somebody who comes to us in the beginning, we follow a model that's helped me in my personal ventures, but has been successful over the last 16 years of helping nearly hundreds of other distillers, which is we dub it the go, no-go process. And it's a stage-gated process that walks an entrepreneur all the way through from ideation to launch. And the first part about that is financial modeling. It's not the sexiest thing we do, but it truly is the most important because without that model, you're unable to think through all the challenges and know the true CapEx. And whether somebody is a multi-billionaire or somebody who's going to apply for a personal SBA loan, we follow through the same process. So we start with that. Once we're very firm about the numbers, and our financial models end up being anywhere from 50 to 70 spreadsheets all linked together. So we stress test everything. It's not a 5-page model that has hockey stick growth and everyone's high-fiving at year 3. In all my years of doing that, I've never seen that come true, although I wish it did. And then once we're clear on that, we can start getting into some of the more creative stuff, perhaps, which is the liquid development, packaging design, market testing, and bringing things through. And what I've learned is when you know your numbers, you know what it looks like, you know what you taste like, and you know what other people think about it, there's nothing else you or an investor can literally do or know in order to make a go or go into decision. And if through the process you realize it's not a go, well, yes, you made an investment in that process, but think of all the time, effort, and energy you save by not going forward. At the same time, if you do go forward, that was all work and research that you had to do, and you did it without the pressure of having a lease or a building or employees. It happened through. So that's first. And then for existing, typically it comes through a strategic plan mindset, and we have an expression of start, stop, keep. And we apply that because of our diverse background of intimate knowledge of virtually every aspect of a spirits company. We apply that to all fields, right? So marketing, sales, operations, HR, finance, and leadership. And when we apply that all the way through, start, stop, keep mentality, we then tie it to the strategy to a financial model, because again, it doesn't make any value unless we're clear about the return, right? We always want to be building enterprise value and know that the effort and energy we're making has financial strength to it. And then where the rubber really meets the road is the actual tactics to do it. So what are the things that we're going to physically do to implement this strategy? Where a lot of things go wrong because someone could say, yes, we need to sell more, and by selling more, we're going to make more money. Granted, but how? What are the actual things that we're going to manipulate and change in order to get that through? And that's usually the third phase of that strategic plan model.
You know, Scott, the most, for me, impactful thing that I heard through this conversation is, I mean, of course, you're very qualified. Your company does great work. You have a fantastic track record and reputation. But it was that there is a passion that fuels your purpose. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's powerful. And that is a separator. So tell me, folks that want to work with you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you and your team?
Yeah, we'll talk to anyone. And I mean that because we never approach an inbound or a call, a lead as that. We look at it as a way to help or talk to an entrepreneur. We make no assumptions that we're going to work together. That's not because we don't want to. We're workaholics, just to be very clear. But that's never been our posture. We have to be a great fit for you and vice versa. And if I can talk to somebody or someone on our team can talk to somebody for a half hour, an hour, and give them some great pointers and they move on, and that's great. That's a success for us. So usually sending an inbound email to info@tbspirits.com. You're welcome to call us as well. But that's the simplest way to get going. And we're going to ask you some tough questions, and it's to help think through so we can be prepared to make that time valuable for you as well.
I love it. Scott, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me and sharing your intimate story and what drives you. And clearly, I understand after this conversation why you've had the success that you've had. It's because you've paid the cost. You've been through it. And you have the pedigree. And again, it's something that I think that is not only inspiring to me, but so many others that are out there in entrepreneurship that are looking to break through. So thank you again for taking the time.
Thank you as well. Much appreciated.